Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie has just released its final trailer, and there have been many new reveals for the movie, giving us our first looks at the withered animatronics, as well as hidden details and Easter eggs that you definitely missed on your first watch. Well, that's what I'll be discussing in this video, giving you a deep dive into the parallels between the game's lore and the movie's story, as well as hidden Easter eggs that call back to the games, and lots more. So sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy my full analysis and breakdown of the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer. But first, we need to start off at the beginning of the trailer and work our way towards the end just as the trailer is presented to us, with our first shot being of Vanessa, who wakes up in a panic sometime early morning, as we can see from the lighting of the room. But she also seems to have bags under her eyes, almost like she's not getting enough sleep, which we can also see in this exclusive behind the scenes photo with her in the office with Mike. But we then hear Mike asking her about the nightmares she's been having.
Tell me about your bad dreams.
It's always the same.
Your dad.
The trailer then shows us shots of younger Vanessa running down the hallway of Afton's house, with William whistling and following behind her. As this is going on, we then hear from Vanessa that all of her dreams have been the same in some sort of way, with William attacking or chasing her down. We then see what looks to be Afton's workshop area, with a bunch of tools and utensils that he most likely uses to perform experiments in understanding remnant, which is a substance that was introduced to us in the game's lore. We then see a prototype Freddy head being built, which we know must be the case because the next shot shows us Afton's blueprints for Freddy Fazbear, with different descriptions of Freddy's capabilities, such as spring-loaded ears that move around, eyes that glow in the dark, but the more interesting detail is the text that reads version 3.0, which could possibly be telling us that Freddy was the third iteration, with Toy Freddy being the second and Withered Freddy possibly finally being confirmed to be the 1.0 version before any other Freddy. But take that as what you will as we move on to the next shot in the trailer, which might be a really big reveal in the film, because we see Vanessa opening an old closet of hers from her childhood, and she pulls out a closed box of some sort. But if you recall back in the FNAF games, there was a prominent box in FNAF 4 that was shown but never fully revealed. But I think we might actually know what's inside the FNAF 4 box now, because in the following shot, we see Vanessa directly after grabbing the box. She is placing multiple kids' toys and items on the shelf. But these must be William Afton's items he's collected from his victim, as we see the same plane that Garrett had in the first movie, which we know William gave to Vanessa when she was younger. So perhaps this is revealing that what's inside the FNAF 4 box is actually the items belonging to the victims of William Afton. But we see Vanessa turning on the TV and placing the items around her, which means she's probably going to go into her dreams just as Mike did in the first film, to finally figure out the truth of what happened to Charlie the puppet, and finally get rid of the terrible memory she has of her father, as we can hear Mike saying,
We're never gonna be able to move forward until you deal with some of the mess you left in your head.
My father was a monster. You know that.
We then see William grabbing a knife, which is followed by him in the yellow rabbit suit approaching some kid in the kitchen, as we know this is a flashback thanks to his suit being all clean and polished. The trailer then shows our first look at Skeet Ulrich, who we know is playing Henry Emily, and we hear him talking to Mike about how he believes Charlie was murdered by William. However, as he's saying all of this, we see Mike opening a book filled with photos of Charlie, where we can read a note addressing Henry saying, I'm sorry you missed my birthday, but I really love my present, and I miss our park, before it gets cut off. Now this is actually really interesting because to the left, we can see a photo with her in what looks to be a park area. And I think this might actually have been a scene we've seen before, where someone was able to capture filming from a park scene, where they stated they saw two kids and a father camping. And I believe this could be Henry with Charlie, and her brother, Sammy, who might actually show up later in the trailer where Charlie is holding someone in her arms. We then see a shot of Charlie holding the kid in her arms while screaming in agony, where she must have witnessed William murdering somebody. She then drops down on the stage, but she's actually standing directly above the hatch that we know opens up to the box further down, with a massive drop. So it's possible William will pull the lever, having her ending up falling down to her death, which would be a unique way for Charlie to die and possess the puppet. But this specific shot of Charlie carrying them in her arms is actually a callback to one of Henry's lines from the game, with his final speech in FNAF 6.
I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours.
We then see Abby entering the FNAF 2 pizzeria, but it shows us a quick shot of Mike holding a pamphlet, and the address to the pizzeria is actually a reference to the release date of the movie, with the date being 12/5/25, December 5th, 2025. We then hear Balloon Boy's laugh, which is actually taken from the game sound, with Mike and Vanessa hearing it and stopping in place. But it seems like they're both looking for Abby, as we know she went to the pizzeria by herself. So perhaps this is where they'll meet the toys and possibly Wizards for the first time. But then the trailer shows us our first ever look at withered Freddy, standing somewhere in a dark back hallway or room next to withered Chica, who seems to also be deactivated. But when he powers on, his eyes actually roll forward, meaning he could be deactivated for a very long time, with withered Chica slowly lifting up and rising to her stance. We then see withered Bonnie also waking up, separate from the other animatronics in his own little corner of the room. And even withered Foxy has immense aura when he opens his eyes for the first time, and he's definitely going to be searching for Mike and Vanessa. We then see a shot of Vanessa investigating the puppet's box where Charlie fell into, as we can see the open hatch just above her next to the stage, and the puppet slowly peeking behind the corner. And Mike then asks somebody,
What do they want with my sister?
which he could be talking to Vanessa, as it looks like the shoulder of her jacket in the corner of the screen. And if we match it with the photo of both of them at the office desk, it seems to line up pretty well. So perhaps he's asking Vanessa after she found out some information after doing some investigating in the pizzeria. We then see Abby screaming awake in a room with what looks to be a yellow animatronic to the right of the screen, possibly with her Chica, but probably more accurately Toy Chica, as the casing seems to be a bit more round and hard material. We can then see Toy Freddy just behind Mike, approaching him as they look to be inside Mike's house. So we'll definitely be seeing Mike, Vanessa, and Abby all being approached by the toy animatronics as they get cornered inside. We then hear another voice line from Freddy Carter's character, Jimmy Fitzgerald, saying,
Half of this town will be dead by morning.
which again leans on the theory that Jimmy Fitzgerald is actually an evil character in this film, and he's using a fake alias to stay undercover from Mike and Vanessa, with his true name being Michael Afton, carrying on his father's evil legacy. They also show us a shot of Toy Bonnie entering somebody's house, which we know will be during the film as they roam the streets looking for Mike in the game, as Toy Bonnie slashes a knife inside this random person's house. We can then see a shot of Toy Chica inside Abby's school, which we know is the case thanks to previous leaks we've been told, and it looks like she'll be hunting down the principal of the school who we saw in the previous trailer, where she then turns on her eyes to light up and look around for him. But these eyes are a really cool callback to the FNAF 2 game, where the animatronics have glowing white eyes, which I find to be pretty cool. We then see our first shot of Balloon Boy peeking over the monitor inside the office, which is actually a callback to the JJ Easter egg from the game, where she does the same thing. We then get our first shot of Jeremy Fitzgerald, once again peeking over the curtains with a very evil look to him. But the next shot actually gives us a lot of Easter eggs and details about the movie, because the trailer shows us what appears to be with her Chica walking down the hallway towards the office, probably attacking either Mike or Vanessa as she lurks closer and closer. But since this shot is so quick, you may not have noticed that withered Freddy is also in the hallway behind here, where we can make out just a bit of his microphone in the side of his suit, with the bit of his ear also poking out, with his bright blue eyes and withered body looking menacingly further back. But in the same shot as well, to the very far left, you can see another Easter egg, with one of the paper pals lurking behind the corner of the wall, which we know from the FNAF 2 game is actually randomly disappearing and reappearing in the cameras and in certain times, which is a very cool Easter egg to put in the movie. But we're not done yet, because in the exact same scene, if you pay close attention to the floor and brighten up the shot, you can see a head of some sorts lying next to withered Chica and Freddy, and it's what appears to be the head of Balloon Boy, as he's lying lifeless with his body seemingly missing. So perhaps at some point during the movie or before this, Mike ended up smacking the head off of Balloon Boy, killing him for good, which I'm sure a lot of Balloon Boy haters are happy to hear. But the trailer ends with a shot of Vanessa running her car off the road into a ditch thanks to Mangle, which is on top of the car and crashes through the window, with an ending shot of withered Foxy jump scaring the viewer, which, when compared side by side with the game's jump scare, is honestly quite different. But if you learned anything new about the movie, consider subscribing for more. And thanks for watching.